Slide the Wi-Fi. Slide the Wi-Fi off and then put it back on.
Mine's working.
You need to slide it and then come back on.
You know we're right there.
Oh, it's probably taking some shoes.
Sometimes he'll come in and write it.
No, Daniel's not gonna be there.
He's not.
I know where Daniel
Work on your house, ain't it? How's that come?
Well, he's not available.
Welcome to the Bladen County Board of Commissioners meeting Monday, October the 2nd. Mr. Larry Hayes will lead us in the invocation, and Ms. Shanita Hayes will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. You'll come first, Ms. Shanita. Please stand.
Let's bow our heads. Father, it's such an honor to be able to call upon thy holy name tonight. And as we've entered in your presence, we thank you for already presenting yourself in ours. Father, we ask you to watch over our commissioners tonight, fall fresh upon them with thy wisdom and direction, Lord, that the decisions here tonight will be effective on our whole county and will uplift our county. We ask you to bless each leader in our county and our citizens, Lord, and we're not forgetful of those that are suffering from disasters in our nation, Lord, and neither are we forgetful and those that have lost their lives in Las Vegas. Lord, we ask you to be on watch of our county and our nation. Lord, we love this county, and we ask your blessings upon this county. For we ask these things in Christ Jesus' name, and all of God's people. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, if you would, I should have done this for Trey's prayer. Can we just stand in a moment of silence for the people in Las Vegas? The last total I heard was 58 dead. I don't know how many injured, but life seems not, people don't care, no value for life anymore. So just thank the good Lord that we live in a county that we do live in and that we have good people surrounding us. And if you'll just, let's bow for a moment of silence, please.
Amen.
Okay, thank you. I need to add, before we approve the agenda consent item, I need to add 4C and do a proclamation for mental health. So with that addition, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent item. Motion by Mr. Trivet, second by Mr. Britt. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. If everybody come around front, we're going to do some proclamations. And the first one's going to be 4-H. Come on, Commissioners. Come on, 4-H'ers. Go ahead.
You get that.
Come on, make room. Go up here. Come on. Everybody up here. Okay, Ariel's going to read the proclamation.
4-H youth across the nation are leading efforts to solve problems in their communities and make a difference for their futures. And 4-H is the largest youth development organization in North Carolina and the largest in the nation with 6 million young people in. 4-H in North Carolina claims over 240,000 youth members and 21,000 volunteers, while Bladen County's 4-H program impacts more than 1,600 youth and more than 100 volunteers annually. And 4-H, as a part of the NC Corporation extension system of NC State University and NCANT State University, is a program where youth learn through opportunities that provide them hands-on experiences in the 4-H mission mandates of science, engineering, and technology, healthy living, and citizenship. And 4-H has connected youth and their communities with the innovative research and resources from our nation's 106 land-grant universities and colleges for more than 104 years. And now, therefore, the Bladen County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim October 1st through 7th, 2017 as National 4-H Week in Bladen County. We urge the people of this community to take advantage of our opportunity to become more aware of the special program that enhances our young people's interest in their futures as part of Bladen County 4-H youth development, and to join us in recognizing the unique partnership between our community and our state university system.
Thank you, Ari. And the president is Sunita. And State, you want to come?
I do.
Okay, get right here. Here's your National 4-H Proclamation, October 1st through 7th. Thank you very much. Before we leave, I got a little something to give you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hold on a while. Thank you. 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 Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, domestic violence. Whereas domestic violence is more than an occupational family dispute, according to the Department of Health and Human Services, it is the single largest cause of injury to American women, affecting 6 million of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds. And where the problem of domestic violence are not confined to any group or groups of people, but cross all economic, racial, and social barriers and supported by social indifferences. Whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse. Whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting women and children and society as a whole. Whereas in Bladen County during 2015 and 2016, Family First served 642 victims of domestic violence and provided emergency shelters to 188 women and children. That's a lot, people. Now therefore it be resolved that Bladen County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclamation that October 2017 is Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Bladen County, and call upon all citizens to join in making every home a safe home, to support families first and work together to the elimination of personal and institutional violence against women. Thank you, ma'am.
This is fine. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. One more. I got a mental health one, but I don't have nobody to receive this, and so we'll just read it. It says, whereas mental health.
You got one?
Come on, I didn't even see you.
I sit down.
I'm sorry. You didn't know we're doing this, did you?
I found out.
It says, whereas mental health is an important part of overall health, whereas 1 in 5 adults experience a mental health problem in any given year, and whereas approximately 1/2 of chronic mental illness begins by age 14 and 3/4 by age 24. Whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States and 24th leading cause among young adults. And 90% of those people who die by suicide have underlying mental illness. And whereas long delays, sometimes decades, often occur between the time symptoms first appear when individuals obtain help. Whereas early indication and treatment can make a difference in successful management of mental ill and recovery. Whereas it's important to maintain mental health and learn the symptoms of mental health illness in order to get help when it is needed. Whereas every citizen and community can make a difference in helping end the silence and stigma that far too long has surrounded mental illness and discouraged people from getting help. Whereas public education and civic activities can encourage mental health and can help improve the lives of individuals and families affected by mental illness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Bladen County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim October 1st to October 2nd as Mental Illness Awareness Week, to shine a light on mental illness and fight stigma, provide support, educate the public, and advocate for equal care. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you. I just want to thank you guys for all that you do advocating for your county, your citizens, and like you said, 1 in 5 young people, adults do experience the mental illness. It really does start between the ages of 12 to 18. So we really do try to go out into our schools, our community colleges, and spread the word. So we're going to continue to spread the word and get the stigma away that people can get help.
What's your 800 number?
I work for East Point Managed Care Organization, and the 24/7 hotline is 1-800-913-6109.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you get it? I'll just use the gym. That's right. I'll just use the gym.
Let's skip item 3. Does anyone, individuals, wish to address the board? Okay. I declare a public hearing open to receive comments regarding needs and relations to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funding. Is anyone here to speak on behalf of this Community Development Block Grant? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. 6 is emergency service. 6A is consider approving a memorandum of agreement regarding the disaster short-term housing assistance program to be administered to the Department of Service, and I think Bradley and Janet here can either.
Yeah, I'll defer any questions to Janet on that program, but basically we reached out to the state and federal government asking for more help as the dollars weren't coming in here as we thought they should be, and this is a program they brought to us. So it's finally gonna get funded, hopefully. So,
Pleasure, board.
I'll make a motion that we receive.
Motion by Mr. Cogdell, seconded by Dr. Goins. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Item B is update regarding the proposed false alarm ordinance.
For some time now, we've been working on this ordinance. It's part of a big ordinance that you'll see in the near future, but there was a push by the fire chiefs to get this section taken care of and get it where they could start using it. We've had a rash of false fire alarms here lately. So this program, or this ordinance, if you will, it doesn't penalize for anybody who has a fire alarm that goes off for good cause. But for someone that has an alarm, they're not taking care of it, not having annual maintenance. And basically what that's doing is causing these volunteer fire folks to get out of bed sometimes 2 or 3 times a night to respond to these fire alarms that could be taken care of with some annual maintenance. So this ordinance is to push those folks to take care of their fire alarm system. So any questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
When you say that there is like the maintenance part of keeping the alarms safe, what would you recommend, or what are things that maybe whoever is owning these security alarm systems that they may just not know that they're supposed to do in order to prevent this feat from occurring?
Right. In commercial businesses, it's a requirement that once you put a fire alarm system in, you have to have a third party come once a year to inspect that system and do any maintenance. Inspect that system. They might inspect it, so you need a part on, to replace a part on this system. And a lot of times we see these folks are not replacing, they're not spending that money to fix that.
Once the fire marshal, once y'all come out there and done the walkthrough, I know y'all done that
Right.
at the fitness center, we give you a list of things you need to do to make sure you're in compliance with. So if those aren't done, and then the alarm goes off, then that's when you're saying that the fee's gonna occur.
Correct.
But if you've done everything that you said, and there's a false alarm just because you can't find anybody when you're there, that's not considered a false alarm.
That's not.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's just for information only. Oh, go ahead.
Brad, do you think it's got enough teeth in it? I know you got first 3 is free.
Yes, sir. This is pretty much a policy, a model policy, or ordinance you'll see nationwide. On the dollar amounts where it starts with the 4th alarm, I reduced those down from what I've collected from other counties, and even the town of Lewistown is a little higher than that. I reduced it down because we don't, I don't want to put anybody out of business or put anybody in a financial bind. We just want to get the fire alarm fixed so these firefighters don't have to get out of bed. So I'm not. This is what I propose, but I'll be glad to revisit it if y'all.
And it's for the safety too, right? I mean, they're
Absolutely.
going by the reasons is they're making these stops each year to make sure that you are in compliance for your own safety.
Correct. Safety of the patrons.
Mr. Kellogg, the systems I have, it gives you a warning when something is wrong before it, so they should know that there's a problem with their system.
Absolutely.
Because it gives you a warning.
Absolutely. In most cases, that's correct.
Yeah.
I would just add if the fire association, if that's the fee you want to set, well, that's good, but I'm kind of like, it's good if there ain't enough teeth in it. I mean, if you had to collect it, there's not enough money in there to collect your fees. I mean, you can't hire a lawyer, you can't do nothing for $50, so, but if that's what the fire station wants, I'm okay with it. Okay. So, item C is consider scheduling a public hearing for 6:30 on Monday, October 16th to receive comments regarding the proposed false alarm ordinance. What's the pleasure of the board? Motion by Dr. O'Feeman, going second by Mr. Gooden. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, Bradley.
Thank you.
Item 7 is Ms. Renee. Consider accepting the bid for county-owned property.
Good evening. The county foreclosed on 2 parcels, and they're located off the Twisted Hickory. I gave you in your packet the map, and the one's at the front and one's kind of further back. I didn't know that, but they're both of them were on the same account. But Mr. Wainwright placed a bid on September 28th for $5,500, and the county's expense was $5,500. So I'm just asking to consider to accept the bid so I can start the upset bid procedures.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gooden, second by Mr. Trivett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Item 8, Sheriff Jim McVicker, consider approving an agreement for participation in the statewide misdemeanor confinement program. Mr. McVicker.
Good evening. We're here tonight to ask for the approval of the statewide misdemeanor confinement program. And I'm prepared to offer 40 beds as an intake. And the state will pay us $40 per day per inmate. And it costs us right at $22 per day to house an inmate. So I think it'd be a plus for Bladen County. And we do all the minor medical, any major medical, the state picks up tab on that.
What's the pleasure of the board? Make a motion. Motion by Mr. Britt, second by Mr. Good. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Item B is consider approving the funded state and local task force agreement.
I have been contacted by the RAC, Mr. Mike Franklin out of Wilmington, and we've had a drug officer working for the last 5 months with DEA task force part-time, and we've had a lot of good success with that. And he has offered a full-time position as a task officer, and they work the Eastern District, which encompasses like 9 or 10 counties. And any drug seizure they make or any money they seize, we get a portion of that. And the good part of that is here in Bladen County, if we have a problem with drugs, we have 8 DEA agents that will come in and help out 3 drug agents. Now, how many problems we have here locally? This is not going to cost the county any money. We will use our money out of our fund. And hopefully, and I think we can replenish our fund with the money we take in from this program. So it shouldn't cost the county anything.
Motion by Mr. Britt, second by Dr. Alfie Goins. Any discussion? Mr. Sheriff, I think this is a positive step in the direction we're headed with the open forum and stuff we're doing. So hats off to you. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? C is consider approving equitable sharing position related to a local task force agreement.
And I'd like to clarify that the equitable sharing will not allow us to use the money out of that for a drug officer. So what we're doing is funding a civil officer, and we're just transferring people around to stay within the law. So there again, it won't cost the county any money. We'll fund it out of our equitable sharing, and I believe we'll see at the end of the year that we'll have enough money coming in to fund the position.
Okay, what's the pleasure, board? Motion by Mr. Britt, second by Mr. Tritt. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
9, computer operations to Robin. Been waiting 2 weeks for this report, Robin. Or 3.
Seems it's consumed my life for how long. And thank you for letting me address you on the computer virus update. Around August, one of our employees opened an email regarding an invoice, and that invoice ended up being a Word document that they downloaded, and once it was downloaded, our system was infected with a virus called Emotet. That's E-M-O-T-E-T. When we originally encountered it, it appeared to be a 5-year-old virus. So we were attempting to clean it with the existing antivirus. It turns out this was a new mutation of Emotet that has recently come out and is actually spreading across the country. What Emotet does is it uses the virus to obtain usernames and credentials, which are the passwords. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. The reason we were having such difficulty is that our subscription antivirus is called AVG, and at the time, since it was a new mutation of Emotet, AVG did not see it because it had not really seen it before. And at the same time, we were also being transitioned from AVG to another company called Avast, who had bought AVG. We hired a group to do some forensics to find out what the virus has been penetrating and getting into. Their name is Security Network Technologies, and they issued us a report at the end of it, and I'd like to quote at least one sentence here, and this is from Security Network Technologies. malware researchers believe this is not from the original Emotet cyber criminals, but it is an independent actor testing the spread capability for future attack. So that comes in later that it spread really quickly through our system, and it attacked our emails and it attacked our network itself. Like to get into the summary of what they did. This is a longer sentence, but this also is a quote from their report. Other than collecting users' contracts in order to attempt to spread and attempting to capture web credentials, there was no indication of attempts to exfiltrate any significant amount of data. All of the network traffic that was observed was small packets of data to and from the command and control computers. We, that's security technology, we have analyzed 7 outbreaks in the last 3 weeks that had behavior identical to this one, which is the one we had given them. In all of these cases, there was no indication of exfiltration or data other than email addresses from Outlook or attempt to capture login credentials. In addition to that, in our cleaning and working with everybody, in the health department, CureMD is the main program that they use. CureMD actually sent us a login report from the date of the infection to the current date. And we determined that all the logins that they showed us did indeed come from inside of our network and came from legitimate employees. If we had seen it come from Emotet, we would have seen it outside the network. It would still be, coming from our employees, but it would have been from outside the network. We did not see that except for one login. However, we did come back and find that that employee was at training that day, and we narrowed down the IP address to a cell tower in Knoxville, Tennessee, and that's where that person was. So we're confident that that's where this employee had logged in from. On the social services side, they use NC-FAST. NC-FAST had indicated to us that there has been no unusual activity after an internal audit of the logins from our employees. So the health department from CureMD and NC-FAST from the health department. The other concern of ours is we do take credit cards. We take it in 3 locations. That's the tax office, water department, and the health department. What we found in talking with that company named VDS is that as you swipe a card through the credit card swiper, that it actually encrypts the information. And in addition to that, we are still employing secure network technologies to further scan those computers that we know were taking credit cards to make sure that there was no breach of data that we know of. Any questions about the current situation?
Well, I have one. You said that, I know when you do a chip, they encrypt. You're saying swipe is being encrypted?
Yes, the magnetic swipe, according to VDS, they said that encryption, that provides encryption for these particular devices.
Oh, for those 2, okay.
Yes,
how about FAST, the new software?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why are we so late switching from AVG?
It wasn't us, it was them that switched.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
They purchased AVG.
Well, we've had AVAST for about 2 years.
Yes, Avast it's been around as long as AVG.
Yeah, so.
But they absorbed AVG.
But they didn't allow you guys to just.
Right. Well,
you couldn't.
I can't say what Avast was allowing or not allowing, but what we saw on our end was that there was a delay in the actual physical changeover in our computers from AVG to Avast. That got straightened out by Avast themselves, and then things started actually cleaning and working.
Okay, so now we're clear
Yes, ma'am.
when it comes to, okay?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Good job, by the way.
Scott, do we have in place a contract arrangement with someone that we pay to keep sure that the systems are clean, or do we do it in-house? How do we do it?
That's the subscription service to the antivirus is the way we handle it.
So that's the way.
And there's multiple levels of protection of the network. We also have Star Communications that helps us, but it's a multi-level, multi-layered defense that we have to maintain.
So we do a subscription to all those guys and pay all those to help us support that type of situation? I'm asking it, like with the new one you were saying, is that now a system that we subscribe to
Yes.
keep everything, so we have to pay a cost for keeping all these things
Yes,
in
sir.
place, right?
Yes, sir. It is a subscription. We purchased AVG, and when Avast purchased them, then they honored the contract that we had with AVG.
But this new kind of security thing, who's paying those guys?
The security, we employed them outside of the county
So we
for the
have-
forensics. They don't do protection, they do the forensics to help us figure out where it came from and what we need to do to fix it. In order to fix it, we were using Avast.
I have one other. Updates, are they automatic, you push?
Yes.
So individuals don't have the option to
That
wait?
is correct. And that was part of the problem with AVG. It stopped doing that, you know, from our perspective, it stopped. It just didn't update itself.
Thank you.
Robin, from this Board of Commissioners, we'd like to thank you, and we don't know all the names of everybody, so just please pass it along. Thank you for your endless hours and hard work, and just thank you. And make sure you tell everybody who's involved with it, because we don't know. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item 10, General Service Department, Kip Clary, Director, updated regarding GenX water testing and why he's coming. I forgot to tell you that Daniel called and he needed to be off tonight. So I excused Daniel from not meeting, I forgot to say it earlier.
Good evening. If you've been following the media, you know that GenX is all over the media. And a couple of months back, we came to you with an initial report of what was going on at that time in the state. During that time, we've been in the conference calls, myself and Mr. Howard and Mr. Martin, been in the conference calls with the state, trying to keep track of what was going on, where it was happening, and looking at what we needed to be doing ourselves. Personally made a request, and Mr. Howard has also several times to the state to assist us with testing our water system. And Commissioners stepped up a few weeks ago and offered to test 2 of our wells for us. In the meantime, we were also talking with a testing firm out of Raleigh, which has an office in Raleigh. They're out of state actually, but they have an office in Raleigh that had done some testing for us before, named Eurofins. So we had already ordered 6 tests from Eurofins, or 6 test kits from Eurofins to test our water when Commissioners volunteered to take over testing the Tobermory well and the well number 6 at Lisbon or Mount Oro. So we proceeded with allowing or getting Commissioners to do the testing for those 2 while we refocused our efforts to wells that we've considered closest to the river, that being a concern about bleed from the aquifer or the river into the aquifer. But we focused on testing ourselves, Tar Heel, Live Oak, White Oak, Center Road, and then we pulled 2 system representative samples, one from the White Oak Fire Department and one from the Center Road Department. The new testing limits are set at nanograms per liter, which translates to parts per trillion. This is a new thing that I think came out like 2015, lowering the test limits. Our lab test results came available to us last Thursday and Friday. And I would like to tell you tonight that there was no detect at all, but we do have a detect. And we do have a detect in 2 locations. It is, however, a minimal detect, just above threshold, but it is at well number 9 at Tobermory. It is at Live Oak, and it is also in the system over near Live Oak. Now, one of these labs was testing for us at the lowest limit of 10 parts per trillion, and the lab we hired can test down to 5 parts per trillion. But the test levels came back at 11 parts per trillion, or 11 nanograms per liter. That being said, I do want to point out that the Department of Environmental Quality sets the standard at 140 parts per trillion to begin considering that a health threat. So we are just above detect in 2 of our wells and part of our system over in the White Oak area. I have included in the packets I gave to you the test results so that you can read them for yourself. The first being Test America, which was the Toba Memorial well, and it shows at .011, which would be parts per million. That translates to parts per trillion at 11 parts per trillion. And then as you see there, the other sample they did for us at the Mount Ord well, and the reason we chose that well is it was closest to the Lock and Dam 1, where the Cape Fear Water and Sewer Authority intake is in the Cape Fear River. We have a well there about 3,700 feet off the river. So we thought if there was going to be some contamination, it could possibly be there, but it showed no detect. And the lab analysis, if you skip on over, you'll see that the Live Oak well, reading on down about fourth from the bottom, shows at 11 parts per trillion when the limit was, the detection level was at 5. So we're just above detection level there. And the WOFD is White Oak Fire Department. It tested at 11 there as well. And the reason we tested it that way, that represents a finished water sample after we've gone through chlorination and filtration. So it is in the system there at 11 parts per trillion. And then as you see, we tested Tar Heel School, no detect. Center Road, no detect. The Center Road representative sample is just above White Lake there. It was no detect. And then the White Lake sample itself was no detect. So we feel like we're in really, really good shape considering some of the other reports we're getting. I would like to point out, if you go back toward the last 2 pages there, the GenX health information I have included comes directly from the State Division of Environmental Quality website. Anyone can log on there and get this information. The most important part that I would like to point out to you is on the second page of that document, where it says what guidelines have been set for human health. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services used available toxicity information to set a health goal for GenX in the drinking water at 140 nanograms per liter, which would translate to parts per trillion. A health goal is a non-regulatory, non-enforceable level of contamination below which no adverse health effects would be expected over a lifetime of exposure. This health goal may change as new information becomes available. And if you follow the history of this, initially in the United States, we were set at like 70,000 parts per trillion. And then when they got looking at European models, it changed to 7,000 parts per trillion. And then the Department of Environmental Health and the DEQ got involved, and they said, well, let's set a new standard at 140 parts per trillion, each time making it a much more minute amount to be tested for. So I've asked Mr. David to join us tonight to answer any questions, if there be any, about health concerns at the levels we're testing at and it being below the state's levels that have been set.
Mr. Brett.
I shared this information with you as I was leaving my place of business. We had the TV on the news channel, and I had to throw on brakes and it was about GenX. And I was happy to hear what I heard with Channel 6 News. They gave the report that they had been checked up and down the river. And the number specifically that I heard was in the low 20s. And they emphasized well below the levels of concern. So that was positive to come from Channel 6.
And I feel we're in the same position at 11 parts per trillion.
That's straight out of the river, and we're out of the chlorinated. That makes it sound even better.
Hey, Doctor, I just want to make sure I ain't too up to date on all this intriguing. When you say 11, that 11 you say detect. Does that mean that it was actually a trace of it in the water?
A trace of it is there, yes, sir.
At 11.
At 11.
Okay, and it should be set at 140.
When you start getting into concern, it's above 140.
Above 140.
Yeah, we're well below. Less than a tenth of that is where we are.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure I understood.
Thank you, Kip.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just add one point of information to this conversation. Many of you may have heard that there are residents in the community, in the Tobermore community near the vicinity of the Comores site, whose their residential wells have tested positive for Comores. I don't know specific numbers. However, I know Ms. Hill is here this evening and may speak to the board in just a moment, but we do not have, I know for instance in front of Ms. Hill's property, there is not a county water line. However, we have already talked with our engineers several weeks ago, and we're exploring any opportunity for that. And there's also further conversation with Cumberland County, and we need to have further conversation with Comores as well about any possibility to provide public water to serve those residents in Bladen County. And it's a small, relatively small number in Bladen County, but I just want to let you know we are working on that.
Can I ask a question, though?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I see all the places, Live Oak and Cumberland and these other places. Now, only in Cali, have they been tested anywhere else down there? Because there are some.
The lowest one I think was Mount Laurel.
That was it? That's what it was?
We don't have any, and just to, right, and just to, there's no public, there's no well in the Kelly community. The county doesn't have a well in the
Okay, thank you,
Well, I know
gentlemen.
that, that's why I was asking.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
11, advisory appointee, industrial facility and pollution control financial authority. Need to replace 2 or reappoint.
I said reappoint.
Motion was by Mr. Cogdell to reappoint, second by Mr. Trivett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Keep Bladen Beautiful. Wait a minute before you, I got some names on that. Sandra Guyton is the chairperson on that. And with the board's approval, I'll read it out to you. Aaron Smith, reappoint. Marlena Diem, reappoint. Amber Long was a student at West Bladen, which is in Chapel Hill. Our suggestion was by Stacy Kenlaw. She helped me with 4-H to get some of these. Alexis Ray from West Bladen. And Dr. Taylor wanted to replace him with Kaylee Page from East Bladen. That's what the Keep Bladen Beautiful's recommendation is.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Cogdell, second by
Second.
Mr. Gooden. Any discussion?
What grades are they in? You know?
They're in high school. I think, she says she thinks one of them a 10th grader, maybe 11th grader at West Bladen, and the Page girl, doesn't say.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Planning board, Mr. Ray Britt's appointment.
Evan Britt would like to serve on that board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Gooden. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Vocational Agriculture District Committee 1.
Reappoint.
Reappoint by Mr. Gooden, second by Mr. Trivett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then we got, who's Bladen Beautiful? Keep Bladen. Who's that next month, next meeting?
Oh, Dr. Taylor.
Oh, I took care of him tonight. Okay. So we don't have no advisory appointments next meeting, okay? We took care of 12A tonight. I didn't know that's what it was though. All right, Mr. Martin, calendar update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to review the calendars for the months of October and November with you.
No, you're next. I'm sorry.
Point out that tomorrow morning at 8:30, the Bladen Ministerial Association meeting will be held at the hospital. Wednesday and Thursday mornings, the annual Agam Up Day will be held at the Bladen County Park. Also, from 2 to 4 on Thursday afternoon at Bladen Community College, the follow-up opioid leadership forum meeting will be held. On Saturday the 7th at 10 a.m., the Bladen County Youth Focus Oktoberfest Parade and Fun Day will be held here in Elizabethtown. On Wednesday the 11th and also on the 12th, those are the rain makeup days for Agam Up if necessary. On the evening of the 12th at 7 p.m., the Bladen County Fire Association meeting will be held at the Tar Heel Fire Department. On Saturday the 14th at 8 a.m., the North Carolina Grape Festival will be held at the Blue Mill Vineyard. The board meets on Monday the 16th at 6:30. On Tuesday the 17th, excuse me, at 10 a.m. there's a Lock and Dam Fish Passage project update meeting, and that will be held at the Cooperative Extension Service, and any of you are certainly welcome and encouraged to attend that. On Thursday the 19th at 6 p.m., the Lumber River Council of Governments annual dinner meeting will be held in Lumberton. Also that evening at 6:30 p.m., the Bladen Community College Foundation's Seafood and Sunset event will be held at White Lake at Regal Resort, the venue at Regal Resort. And on Friday and Saturday, the 27th and 28th, the Bladen Borough Beast Fest will be held. Moving over to November, on Friday the 3rd at 8:30 a.m., the United Way Day of Caring event will kick off at the Cape Fear Farmers Market here in Elizabethtown. There will be a prayer service at 8 a.m. on Monday the 6th, and also that evening at 6:30, the Board of County Commissioners meets here. On Wednesday the 8th at 11 a.m., the 12th annual Bladen County Veterans Day ceremony will be held at the National Guard Armory here in Elizabethtown. On Thursday the 9th at 7 p.m., the Bladen County Fire Association meeting will be held at the Tobermore Fire Department. Offices will be closed on Friday the 10th in observance of the Veterans Day holiday. On Saturday the 18th, the Pork and Beets Festival will be held here in Elizabethtown at the Cape Fear Farmers Market. On Monday the 20th at 6:30, the board meets here. Offices will be closed on Thursday the 23rd and Friday the 24th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. And on Sunday the 26th at 3 p.m., the Elizabethtown White Lake Area Chamber of Commerce annual Christmas parade will be held here in Elizabethtown. If there are no questions regarding the calendar, moving over to item B, there's information we wanted to share with you regarding legislation that is working its way through Congress, and it's passed the Ways and Means Committee with a favorable report. But it would impact revenue related to EMS, providing EMS services. And for instance, the amount of revenue that the county would receive for providing transports to dialysis patients would drop 32%. Instead of the current 10% reduction. As you all know, that's a big source of business for the county, transporting patients to the dialysis treatment facility. So we've been encouraged to contact our senators, and I just wanted to, if the board's in agreement, we'll certainly write a letter and on behalf of the chairman and send that to Senator Tillis and Senator Burr, and just let them know about the financial implications that it would have for counties.
The board look over that? Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have at this time.
Okay, item 14, individual delegation wish to address the commissioner. Listen.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Hill, and I'd like to thank all of you for giving me the chance to talk on behalf of the community and my family. Approximately about 9 years ago, I built a house next to DuPont. We were required to dig a well because Bladen County wouldn't supply water for us because the actual line stops around the Bladen Union Church Road area, which is approximately a mile from my residence. To my knowledge, there's another line that runs over by Tobermore to DuPont. I found a letter around about the 25th in my mailbox stating that North Carolina Environmental Quality wanted to test my water. On the 27th, my water was tested. By the 29th, I had a subcontractor by Moore's bring me a generic letter stating that my well tested positive for GenX. I'm sorry, my mind lost me. They were unable to provide me with any type of numbers, levels, or anything like that. The only thing they could tell me was not to drink or cook or brush my teeth with the water. They did provide me with water. They advised me that I could get up to 5 cases 1 time a day. They stated that we could still shower in the water, which I don't understand that because there's not a whole lot of research or information provided for GenX. I do know that when you put something on your skin, it absorbs into your body. I contacted the CDC, and the representative could not tell me anything about GenX, the effects on the body, anything dealing with it. She stated that it was in a PDF form and she would have to have a specialist contact me back at a later time. I contacted the health department in Cumberland County, and they advised that they would send me information to the email. They did provide me with some paperwork, but essentially, my main concern is my children and my family. We live in Bladen County. We are essentially happy with our residents, and to be honest with you, who's going to want to buy a house that has a well fitted with GenX? And my main concern is, how are we going to get water? He discussed about different wells, but he did not address the residents' wells that have tested positive, or the effects or anything like that. Also, we're hearing on the news that it's been released into the air, and there's a concern for a 10-mile radius. My main concern is, what's the next plan of action for us? Will they run the water line further down? Because we were advised that there's approximately maybe 5 houses, and it wasn't enough to bring the water line down that far. Those are my main concerns. I don't know if any of y'all live out that way, but would any of y'all want to drink my water? Or, you know, none of these have been addressed with us. Do you think I'm being fair for coming forth and bringing this to everyone's attention?
Yeah, you've been fair.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I appreciate you doing that.
Have you got your numbers back?
No. Like I said, they provided me on the 29th, which was Friday. I guess he's a subcontractor of Camorra. He brought me a generic letter in which he bought Mr. Kane, whose well also tested positive, who's here with me as well. There are several residents around this water tested positive. There's a pond behind my house that separates my property as well as Mr. Kane's property from DuPont. That's how close we are. So, you know, we haven't been told exactly a whole lot of information. I know they stated that they wanted to come today or either tomorrow to test inside of the residence, but if it's coming from the pump or actually in the well, what difference is it going to be from my kitchen? It's still going to be positive. My main concern is what's the next plan of action? When can, you know, I drink water without having to use bottled water or even cook with it? Having to, you know, figure out what exactly we're going to do.
What's the physical address?
21974 NC Highway 87 West, Fayetteville.
And Mr. Kane's is?
Address?
Yes, sir.
21604 NC 87 Highway West, Fayetteville.
And we have a 28306.
We're in Bladen County, but we have a Fayetteville address.
Yeah. We're just over the county line. But our main concern is the lack of communication.
I ask you a question, did all the houses on that street, you said it was 5 houses in there?
I'd
Did all
say-
those, did all those houses test positive? Or do you know?
Do you know, Mr. Kane? Do you know who all tested positive? I know at least 11.
So far, I did. He had one just, Mr. McDonald had one just off of 87 one Tuckamore Road. Tested positive. Mine, Wade Singletary, who lives in, Pembroke, he rents a house just above your house. Mr. Tom Coon lives there, and he said his test was above the same level. And, that's the only ones I know there, but I've heard there was more.
910-876-3604.
Okay, we'll get with you, I promise.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe tomorrow. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, be sure you read your miscellaneous correspondence. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have a
So
question
moved.
first.
Okay.
I was trying to get it earlier. we talk about Ms. Hill's water issue. I didn't get an answer, you rest. But I wanna know the ones that rest on F. Kelly on the side of the river. We know which way the water travels, you're not talking about that. So I wanna know how many houses were tested in Kelly. Anybody know that?
Zero.
Zero, why not though?
I can answer that, I'll give you a number.
They're working their way out from the plant site for groundwater and well water. And the other testing that was done in July and August was surface water from the river, because downriver they use river water. They use well water for drinking water in the system. Now, if they keep finding it in wells surrounding the plant, they'll just keep going.
They'll get farther and farther.
Were you aware of the situation she explained?
Excuse me?
Were you aware of her situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were. Okay.
You entertain a motion to adjourn?
Second. So moved.
Distributed, second by Mr. Buller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
You can help me with that issue.